Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of the Raving Patients Podcast. As you know, I'm your host, Dr. Len Tao, coming from you from sunny Florida. It's about 92 degrees right now in the middle of July as we record this episode. And today is one of those episodes I love to record. I'm talking to someone who shares the passion for marketing like I do. He actually has a digital agency for dentists. We're going to be talking about marketing for dentists, digital marketing for dentists to be more specific. We're going to be talking a little about online reviews, which, as everybody knows, it's my passion in life outside of the other things that I do in dentistry. So today's guest is the founder of KickStart Dental Marketing, Chris Pistorius. So Chris, welcome to the Raving Patients Podcast.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And at some point, we'll be recording a podcast for one that you do. But Chris, for obviously, I know about you because of Dental Town. I know you're active on Dental Town, and that's where I recognize the name. So if someone is not on Dental Town, if someone doesn't know who you are in the industry, why don't you give the listeners and the viewers kind of a little overview of you and then what your agency does for dentists?
Yeah, absolutely. So 12 years ago, a little over 12 years ago, I started this agency, KickStart Dental Marketing. And I had with a lot of young people won't remember the name or know the significance of the name, but I worked for a company called America Online, or AOL. And I was in marketing and advertising sales for them, national sales, and worked with them for quite a while. And then we went through our merger with Time Warner at the time. So we merged all the AOL properties with like CNN and Time Magazine, all that cool stuff, and eventually left that company, and I started KickStart Dental Marketing. And the reason I did that was simple. I saw the need because back then is when internet advertising had really just hit, and everybody knew they wanted to be involved with internet marketing, but nobody quite knew how, because back then it was mostly just contextual advertising or banner ads. And so I saw this gap between the business owner and digital marketing, because business owners didn't know what to do or where to spend their money, and people like me did and knew what worked and what doesn't. So I created a business out of it, really first as a consultant, and then more recently as, not just consulting on how to do things, but, how to actually deploy them and manage those strategies for dental practices. But personally, I live in Denver, Colorado, just south of Denver. I've got 2 kids, one getting ready to go to college next year, and 2 golden retrievers, and my wife, Michele, and I have been married for 19 years now. So a lot going on.
That's great. Thank you for kind of giving an introduction to the audience. So let's talk about digital marketing. Okay, I'll do it this way. There are so many different companies out there that come at you, and I'm not going to bash any companies here, but I'm very familiar because of my space. Why should someone look at, and again, I don't want this to be about KickStart, but because we're talking about your company, let's get this off the ground first. Someone listening says, okay, I like what you were saying during the podcast. What makes KickStart different than other agencies? Why should someone use your business, basically?
Yeah, it's a great question. I get it a lot too. Unfortunately, this industry has been a little bit spoiled by people that have a laptop and think that they know what marketing is, and they open their laptop and all of a sudden they're a digital marketing agency who knows it all. And unfortunately, what happens is that some people trust people like that. They get involved with them, they lose some money, and then it's kind of like, oh, well, digital marketing doesn't work, right? And I guess there's a lot of industries really like that, but it seems like my industry more than regular. So I would say the biggest difference for us is that we're a boutique agency. We're not a big company. We only take on certain amount of clients every year, and we do that on purpose because we don't want to have to rely solely on automation. We don't want to have to ship work to places where it may not be done as high a quality as we'd like. We're really known in the industry as being a leader in terms of quality of work. Now, what that means for our clients is that they should be seeing a bigger return with marketing with us. And we don't take shortcuts, and we do everything by hand, and it just works better that way. And our clients typically will see a better return on investment for that. But you're working with a company that when our client calls in, no matter who answers the phone here, everybody here knows exactly what's going on with the client, where we are with the client. You're not calling this big company that's maybe automated and, you're just another client to them. So while we're a small group, we're able to take on a large number of dental practices because we're really good at what we do and we've got really solid process and procedures. So I'd say the biggest difference between us and maybe other competition is just the level of service and the overall results that we can do. And then probably thirdly and the lastly thing is there aren't many other digital marketing agencies out there that have been doing this for 12 years successfully, specifically in dental. So, experience can really tell you what's going on with a company, and we know a lot about what doesn't work. We know what does work, and you don't have to waste a lot of time and money trying to figure that out with us.
That's a great answer, and you actually ended it with a perfect segue into what I wanted to talk about was, let's talk about what works and what doesn't work. So there's so many different types of marketing. I know we're going to focus on digital marketing, but you still have the traditional marketing, which I never did in my practice. I had one ad in the Philadelphia Magazine that ran for a couple of years. I tracked everything. It started to get less phone calls, and I stopped it. It was very simple. And then I got into the online marketing space. So I have a lot of experience with this. So what do you find? And I'm sure it's very geographic in nature as well. What works in one town may not work in the other. Right. But talk to the audience about what you think. Let's take someone who's just starting out, okay? Let's start the basic questions. What percentage of revenue or collections do you recommend going towards marketing when you're just starting out? And where would you recommend someone puts that money as a new practice?
Well, starting out is when I think you should probably spend the most, because if you're brand new, just starting out, you don't have much of a brand, meaning nobody probably knows who the heck you are, right? So I would say upwards of 10% of gross revenue, or your projected gross revenue after 12 months. What we've found in working with startups, for instance, is that a lot of times when people take loans out to start up a practice, that marketing budget needs to be included in that. And many banks like Wells Fargo will include marketing as a budget aspect in loans. So it's important to talk to companies like mine early on in the process. Don't wait until after you've got your loan. Talk to us about what would it cost? What are we looking at in this market? What is the, one thing that we do are market demographics, because we've got to know who it is that we're marketing to in order to come up with a plan. So, I think for startups, up to 10%, maybe less, depending on what your goals are. But, certainly you need to take it seriously early on.
And so let's just say a practice is $750,000. You're saying $75,000 spread over the course of the year, so a little over $6,000 a month at that point. So
yeah.
Where and again, I'm just took out a number here. And then obviously offices need a website, and then they need reviews. But for someone who doesn't have a lot of reviews, and we'll get to reviews in a few minutes, where should they be spending their money once they create the website to really attract new patients? Where is your focus on for these practices?
Well, it's not that simple in my mind. I'll get to that in a second. But the first thing that you need to be asking yourself as a dental practice is, who are you marketing to? So who's your ideal patient avatar? Who is it that you want to walk into the door? Are you doing cosmetic work? Are you wanting implants? Whatever it may be. So we start there. And then, as most dentists listening to this will agree, dentistry is competitive, probably more competitive than it's ever been. So we like to start with what I call USP, or Dan Kennedy, I think, called it that back in the day, unique selling proposition, right? Why are you different, or why should people go to you versus the 12 other dentists they pass on the way to your office, right? And so once you know who it is you're marketing to, that patient avatar, and you know what makes you different, and by the way, a little tip on this, just by saying you're better, or you have more experience, or you take better care of patients, that's not good enough, by the way, for the USP. But once you've gotten those two things, then is when we start to think, okay, was it Facebook ads? Is it SEO? Is it the website? Blah, blah, blah. And that's when we start really creating a custom plan. And I'll just go back real quick. That's probably another big difference maker for us, is that we don't see a dentist as a dentist, right? We see a dentist with a specific purpose, or a specific thing that they do uniquely, and that's what we go after. A lot of other companies don't do that. So before we even get to Google ads or whatever it may be, we've got to figure that out first.
And then once you figured out what their unique selling proposition is, and it's funny, I give a workshop called The Art of the Sale. So I teach sales techniques to dentists. It's a Zoom workshop. Nice. And one of the things I ask very early in the conversation is, what makes you different?
Right.
And it's a Zoom, so there's like 10 people on there, and they all say, this is what makes our practice different. And I started to give them tips because there's a certain direction I want them to go. And offering great customer service is not what makes you different. Right. Everybody does that. Right. So I agree. You need something that makes you very different in how you do it. And just as an example, when I'm in my business now, my practice, just shy of 15 years. Okay. Nice. So I bought my practice 15 years ago. And one of the things I was going to say was I was going to make sure I was the one that was available to speak to the patients. I was the one that was going to go to the patients when they went to the oral surgeon for their consults and the surgery. I was there when they woke up to do the stuff. That's how I built my brand. Dentists don't do that. Okay. I was very, very different back then. And that's kind of the direction we went when it came to a unique selling proposition, on top of the fact that I had the latest and greatest technology. Yeah. So once somebody comes up with this unique selling proposition, obviously it makes your job a little bit easier because you know whom you need to target from an audience perspective or a patient perspective. Now we're turning into the 2021. We're recording this in July. Obviously there are so many different ways to do this. Where you find you getting, or the practice is getting, the best bang for the buck nowadays?
Well, it definitely varies, because we can find a practice that's in the same market as a previous client maybe, and what worked for them doesn't work for the new people, right? So it's a lot of testing, but the mainstays are search engine optimization, making sure that you show up on Google on the first page when people do searches like dentist near me or Invisalign near me, popular searches. But kind of a pro tip with that is that, Google has the market share there, and you definitely need to pay attention and rank there. But what we find some bang for our buck is also with Bing and Yahoo, to rank on those search engines as well. While they don't have the search volume, what they do have is it seems to be an affluent crowd. And what I mean by that is they typically they're a little older and they have a little bit more money. And the reason for that is kind of basic because, and I don't want to stereotype people here, don't get me wrong, but sometimes when older people buy a computer, Microsoft, a PC anyway, Microsoft is automatically loaded on the computer. And some people don't know the difference between using, Internet Explorer or Edge or whatever it is to Google Chrome or whatever. And so what happens is those computers are set up as the default search engine is Bing or Yahoo, right? So people don't even know to change that. So they just use whatever search engine is on there. And so these people that are more affluent with a little bit more money may very well be using Bing and Yahoo versus Google. So we don't ignore for SEO, anything. Certainly we try to optimize as much as we can for Google, but there's also a good crowd there with Bing and Yahoo. And to go along with that, paid advertising wise, we have very good luck with doing paid ad campaigns, not only on Google, but Bing and Yahoo's network as well, because of just that same reason. Another kind of pro tip is what we're dabbling in now is Nextdoor. I don't know if you're familiar with that app, but it's kind of the local neighborhood app, if you will. It's very popular. It used to be that you couldn't really advertise as a local business there. It was really more for big agencies and whatnot. But now you can, as a dental practice, market in local neighborhoods as kind of the local dentist. And we're doing some testing on that, and it's going very well. So
that's really interesting what you said about Yahoo and Bing, because they're obviously they have such low market share comparatively, but I guess because of what you just said, there are people who still use those sites. I always ask people in my seminars, do you know what Bing stands for? Because it's not Google. Yeah. So, but you are not the first agency to tell me that they have success using those other search engines. Yeah. So Google AdWords versus Facebook, Facebook boosted posts or Facebook funnels, as they call them. How do you find one versus the other? Because again, with Facebook, the ad just pops up on their feed.
Right.
So you don't even know if they're interested in your services.
Right.
On Google, you're getting people who are obviously searching for your service to be able to find you if you're doing an ad with that specific keyword on there.
Right.
So talk to the listeners about that.
Yeah, well, you hit it nail on the head there. They're two different things. And if you have the budget available, you should do both. Number one, what you just said, people on Google, and who we're targeting on Google for Google search are people that have their credit cards in hand, they have their health insurance card in their hand, and they're just trying to figure out who it is they're going to spend their money with at the dental practice. Very targeted traffic. You only pay for people that click on your ads, and you should be, if you know what you're doing, or you have an agency doing it for you that knows what they're doing, you should be getting your message in front of people that are ready to buy. Okay, very important. Facebook is more kind of, it's like buying a billboard, a very targeted billboard, right, that you drive by every day. But with Facebook, I can target so that only like 25 to 45-year-old females with 2.5 kids and a golden retriever that owns their own home, I can make sure that only those people within a certain mile radius can see your billboard. So we're not wasting impressions and money and views on people that wouldn't be in part of our patient avatar, like I described earlier. And that's why we come up with that patient avatar, is mostly for like Instagram and Facebook advertising. So it is, we know who it is that we want to target in those markets. So you can think of Facebook as like a brand awareness, a billboard, but you will catch people that do need a dentist and are looking for a dentist at that time, and you will get new patients from that. What we're finding is Google advertising for most markets is about twice of what we can blanket a market for with Facebook ads. But the real power comes in behind being able to use both of those engines, since they're really two different sets of eyeballs that we're going after many a times.
And that makes a lot of sense to me. I actually do both. I believe I get better bang for the buck because I track everything through Google AdWords, but I still get people who say they find me on social media. Sure. Now, let's talk about social media and the extent that they're not paying for any type of ad. They have a page and they're posting stuff on there, and they're boosting posts, and that's their presence they have there. I've always been the person that says, I don't even call that advertising, that's social media. Social media advertising when you pay for it. Social media, that's free, in my opinion. What do you recommend for someone who says, no, I want to focus just on getting people to go on my page and see what I post?
Yeah, I think it's important in terms of staying on top of mind to your current patients, if you can get them to follow you on that page. And you should be running some sort of internal marketing campaigns to make sure that your patients are following your page. Usually we do that via email marketing. So we'll send out emails every so often saying, hey, be sure to join our page. And it works effectively. And, with email marketing, I'll get back to that in a second, but it's not about, the technology on how to send emails or anything. It's about what to say and how to say it and when to say it, right? So we can talk about that a little bit more. But so you got to get people to follow you first so that you do stay top of mind. And they're good for like referral campaigns. They're good for, inactive campaigns, bringing back patients in that haven't been in 9 months or so. They're good for all of that because you can do a lot of different targeting with it. So, you can make what's called lookalike audiences and do paid advertising off of your current patient base. There's some really complex, cool stuff. You can also do retargeting off of your list. So if you have 1,000 people that follow your page, Facebook knows who they are. They won't tell you specifically who they are all the time or what their contact information is, but they'll let you set up an account to where you can go and show display ads to those people on different places all over Facebook, or you can do that on Google Ads as well. So what we get a lot is we get a dentist that'll call us and say, look, I don't have anybody to do the social media. I hate Facebook. Can you do it for me? And my answer is no, even though we offer the service. And where I'm going with that is that you should never rely on a third party to run your internal free social media campaigns. Yes, we can help you. We can post good content, relevant content targeted towards your patient avatar and towards your unique selling proposition, but we're not in your office. So we don't know kind of the cool, maybe funny stuff, like maybe one of the hygienists dressed up for Halloween in funny costume. We don't have access to any of that content. And that's where the dental practice needs to designate 1 or 2 or 3 people to do some posting on a weekly basis of just cool, funny, nice stuff that's going on in the community or in the office. Because no third-party company like mine, who I don't care who they are going to be able to get that to that personable of a level, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. That makes sense a lot. Now, what are your feelings, again, on the other social channels, such as Instagram, such as LinkedIn and Twitter? Those I don't think have much of a YouTube. Talk to the listener about those.
We don't do a lot with Twitter. But don't sleep on LinkedIn, because where we have some success with LinkedIn is like business administrators, people that are at work. We can do actually paid advertising campaigns on LinkedIn and target people that work at a certain company in a certain location. So if we know, for instance, there's a certain big company or even a small company in a local town, we can target people that work there if we know their insurance plan is something that we accept, for instance, or if it's a really good dental plan, if those still exist. And you can get kind of unique targets by doing things like that. So it's not as important, in terms of like Facebook. Instagram and Facebook, I kind of lump into the same thing. They're on the same ad platform. So whatever you post typically on Facebook, you should put on Instagram as well. Don't sleep on LinkedIn, and we just don't do much and haven't seen much stuff going on with Twitter. We love YouTube. If we can get our dentists to make videos, that is. And I don't mean like have a production crew come in and do that. We can do that certainly, but I'm talking about just like 1 or 2 minute videos of the dentist or the hygienist on their phone, just talking about something, right? That can help a ton, and we can get those videos ranked pretty high on Google and YouTube. We can cut them up and make them into Facebook ads. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with video as well. But it's really more of a strategy of, don't use just 1 or 2, use the whole gamut to get the best results.
And then what are your thoughts on the newest crazes in like TikTok?
We're testing that, believe it or not. We're not quite ready yet. It's still a little immature for us, especially in the dental industry. But it's getting closer. I mean, if you think back about Facebook, it was very similar, right? In the sense of, it started off, it was young, it was kids, it was teenagers using Facebook. And now look at it, it's, old guys like me, keeping up with high school friends and college friends and stuff. So the demographic has gone older, and I think we're seeing that in a lot of other social media platforms. I just personally don't believe it's ready for dentistry quite yet.
That was what my expected answer was going to be, but I didn't want to step on your tails as the guest and tell you that I think it's a piece of a waste at this point.
Right. Yeah.
So when someone decides what avenues they want to use, I think one of the most difficult things, and look, I have a lot of relationships with people in your space, and I think people get frustrated when they're not able to track results.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big, I don't want to say it's missing in the industry, because I know there's ways to track it, but proving ROI to someone I think is very difficult. So how do you track things, call tracking numbers? How do you track things so you can say, we were able to deliver this value to you, you spent this much money, there's no reason why you'd ever want to switch from us?
Yeah, that's pretty near and dear to my heart, actually. And it's something that I've worked a lot on and trying to perfect it. And it drives me crazy coming from like corporate America marketing, where you get agencies and companies that'll send you reports. They just email you a report and say, hey, look how great we are, look at all the money you made. And then you look at your bank account and you're like, what money? I don't see anything, right? So there's a big gap there. And so we track everything here because we have to. We track clicks and impressions and how many times somebody saw this, or how many times they hovered over an ad, and that's all great. That helps us run the campaign. But for dentistry, and this really applies to any local business, it needs to be results oriented, meaning how many butts did I get in my dental chair that day from your marketing campaign, right? And so that's what we here are on a mission to solve, and we've got a pretty good solution to it. We have a dashboard. Everybody that goes through us has a dedicated client success manager. He or she has access to their cell phone, their desk phone, email, everything. We really try to go overboard on the service part of things. But they also have a dashboard that they can kind of log into. And it looks like a tile board, basically. It's like a sales funnel, if you will. And it's basically got every phone call or online lead that's come in from our campaign on this board. And it's got the person's name, where they came from, estimated revenue. It's got, if they called in, they can click on the tile and they can actually listen to the phone call that came in. It shows if they were a referral or if they're brand new. It shows the whole gamut, really. And where that helps is that you can see exactly what the campaign produced, where it came from originally, And, I have a lot of dentists say, well, we just ask people when they get there how they heard about us, or, they called and told us. That's not good enough because, they might have saw you on Facebook originally, and then they did a Google search to find out more about you, and that's the latest way that they called you, and that's what they said. I found you on Google. No, they actually found a Facebook ad. They might not have clicked on it, but they contacted you a different way, right? So this will actually source to the original source. So it helps us run campaigns, but honestly and selfishly, it helps us say, hey, doc, you spent $2,000 with us this month. Here's what we produced, right? And there's really not much argument about it. They have names and they can bounce it against their database, but it gives the practice a great way to keep a pulse on their front desk and know how their advertising dollars are working.
Okay. So on the marketing side, I want to switch gears here. I want to spend some time talking about reviews. But is there anything else on the marketing side that you think you want to kind of let the listeners and viewers know regarding any advice you have?
Well, I could go on for days, but no, we better keep going.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about a topic that's obviously very near and dear to my heart, is online reviews for dentists. And I know you're obviously a believer in this as well.
Yeah.
So let's spend some time talking about this. My belief is, even before you can start marketing in your practice, you need online reviews, because that's going to create the trust that links the patients with you and Google with you. The more reviews you have, the higher you're generally going to rank. The more reviews you have, the more trust a patient's going to have with you. So I believe it's the fuel that allows these marketing campaigns to be super effective. And again, you do more. I don't do hands-on marketing. I'm a consultant on that side. But I'm sure you would agree with me that the practices that have better reviews and more reviews generally have better return on investment from the marketing that they're doing.
Yeah, there's no question. It's a business where early on it was a little fraudulent. It was shady. I didn't love it in the beginning several years ago, but I think Google's done a nice job. Facebook's done a nice job of getting their algorithms right, where it filters out potential spammy reviews, so that most of the reviews I think we see now on those platforms are pretty legit. Not 100%, but pretty legit. And I think when we talk about dental specifically, that's a pretty ethical profession in most cases. So I think a lot of the reviews that you're absorbing online for dentistry related stuff is reputable, right? But there's no question. We see online reviews affect referrals, like word of mouth marketing, which should always really be the number one source of new patients for a dental practice. But think about it. If you get referred to a dentist from, Aunt Betty, for instance, oh, okay, well, thanks for that. Well, it used to be they'd just pick up the phone and call them immediately and schedule an appointment. Well, now guess what? It's real easy to do a Google search on what Aunt Betty told you, and they're going to check you out first. So they're going to look at your reviews, they're going to look at your website, all kinds of different stuff before they pick up the phone and call. So actually, online reviews are going to help everywhere, not just for new patients, but even those word-of-mouth referrals that are so important to most dental practices. And I think you would probably agree, it's not just having reviews. Okay, you got 1,000 reviews, that's great. But how recent are your reviews? Do you have reviews coming in all the time? You probably know the stat. It came out from Bright Local or somebody that people don't trust reviews that are more than a month old or something as much as they do like reviews that are just a few days old, right?
Yeah, so the stat is actually 86% of people want reviews within the last 3 months, and 50% want them in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not just about getting reviews and, hey, you're done. You have to keep them coming in. And, I get a lot of, well, what if we get bad reviews? Cool. That actually looks better, because you're never going to if you find somebody that's got 4,000 5-star reviews, that's probably a little suspect. You can't make everybody happy. It's okay to have an occasional negative review. It'll balance itself out, in my opinion, and I know you're really the expert with this, but where we consult mostly on reviews is not just how to get them, but make sure you respond to reviews, right? Because there are so many of our dentist competitors. Remember, we're trying to make them unique and stick out. So many dentists out there don't take the time to respond to a review that somebody's left you. They've taken a lot of time, not just to spend money with you, but in some cases, they create a Google account just so they can leave a review for you, and then it just sits there. You don't respond to it at all. So we make sure our team will actually, for our online review service, we'll actually do that for them. We'll go in and put custom replies to every review that comes in. It's unique, and it actually will help with SEO efforts as well.
So let's talk about responding to reviews.
Yeah.
I teach a class. Oh my God, I got a bad review. What do I do?
Yeah.
And I have my own opinion on this, and I don't love responding to reviews online or negative, because I think you can wake a sleeping giant sometimes.
Right.
And I also like to let the listener or the dentist know that if you are going to respond, the reason that you're really responding is for those who are reading it.
That's
you're
right.
not actually responding to the person who wrote the review in most cases.
That's right.
So what is your opinion when it comes to responding to negatives? If you think that you have a crazy patient, you just not respond. I always recommend trying to contact them offline before you go online with a response.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, you have to be careful. There's some HIPAA stuff in there too. Mm-hmm. If you get somebody from the front desk that maybe doesn't know, and they accidentally put something about the work that they did for the patient, like specific health-related information, it can be a HIPAA violation, which can be bad news for anybody. So that's number one. But yeah, I always tell our clients, we respond to the good reviews. If there happens to be a negative one pop in there, we always consult with the dentist before we post anything for them. But what I say first of all is let's reach out by phone, the doctor himself or herself, and let's see if we can't come to a resolution and get this review taken off completely, right? And very seldom will we respond to a review, and if we do, it's a very high road. I'm so sorry to hear about this. Please contact me directly, and I would want to work this out as much as possible. Because again, at that point, you're not responding to that person. You're making sure the people, the potential new patients, are seeing that you care and that you really want to take the time to resolve any issues there could be.
Gotcha. And then for those people listening, I know you're a big believer in generating the reviews. Other than the automation, any other tips, suggestions on a practice who doesn't want to necessarily go the automation route?
Absolutely.
Excuse me. How to get these reviews?
Yeah, it starts with the dentist. We see that our most successful dentists in terms of online reviews are the dentists that actually bring up the review process during the exam. So if they're on their way out or whatever it may be, the doctor, he or herself, will say, you know what, you're going to get an email from me later today that's going to ask about your experience here. I'd really appreciate it if you take the time to do that. If you could get a dentist to say that, you'll get a lot better response from reviews, because remember, that's coming from a position of authority, a position of trust, a position of that one-on-one relationship. That goes a lot further than an automated email or even the front desk person giving them a card or something to be sure to leave a review. So not to say that automation won't get reviews, it absolutely will, but if you can get some personable requests from the doc, him or herself, it'll go a long way.
So guys, listen to that. His suggestion is always let the dentist be involved. And I know from my doing this for so many years, the dentist does not want to be involved in most cases. So to get a better result, Chris has recommended that the dentist take a personal approach to it, talk to the patient about leaving a review, making it easy from that point on. But that discussion is a good lead into the patient actually doing the review.
Right.
Anything else as we wind down the podcast and we go into Would You Rather? Anything else that you feel is important to just mention to the listeners? Anything hot that you think is going to happen? Anything that's on the horizon that you think is going to take off? Anything in that aspect of things?
I think it's important to take action on this because, like I said before, dentistry is more competitive than it's ever been, and it's going to continue that way for the foreseeable future. We get more requests now for new dentists coming into the market than we have in the last 12 years. So I think it's important for established dentists and even the new people coming in, take action now. You've got more pressure from DSOs. You've got more pressure from people starting up their practice. You need to do something. Don't just kind of do the head in the sand type of marketing where you're kind of overwhelmed and you're just going to do nothing, because I think that will eventually lead down a path that you don't want to go on.
And I think that's really good information. Thank you for sharing your expertise in there. All right, so I'm going to pull up my pod decks to ask you some questions. Would you rather? We're going to do about 10 of them. Just answer it, and if you want to give a reason why, you can give a reason why. So, first one, would you rather be stuck in an elevator or on a Ferris wheel for 24 hours?
Ferris wheel. It's a little more spacious.
Okay. What about the height? No problem with heights?
I'm okay there. I just want to be able to get air.
Okay. Let's see. Would you rather give up donuts or pizza forever?
Donuts.
Okay. Can't give up pizza. Here's
Right.
a dental themed question. Would you rather have perfect teeth or perfect hair?
I don't have perfect teeth, and quite frankly, I don't even like going to the dentist. How ironic is that?
That's ironic, correct. Well, hey, I don't like going to the dentist either, and I'm a dentist. So
And you are a dentist.
I'm a dentist, and I don't love the dentist myself. I need nitrous oxide when I get work done. I haven't had that much work in my lifetime, thank God, but I'm not a fan of the dentist.
Right.
I don't like that one. Here. Would you rather get rid of all internet trolls or get rid of all the fake social media accounts?
Fake social media accounts, because they're usually not real people.
Correct. I agree with that. I don't like that one. Would you rather drive a Ford Mustang or a Chevy Camaro?
Camaro. My dad had a 69 Camaro, so I got to go with that.
Okay. Let's see. I don't like that one. Would you rather eat Rice Krispies with milk as a cereal or as Rice Krispie treats?
If I can use sugar on the cereal, maybe cereal, but probably treats, because I'm addicted to sugar.
Okay. Would you rather have a famous parent or a famous significant other?
Famous significant other. I think there'd be more benefits there.
I agree with that. So, let's see. Would you rather work at a grocery store or a fast food restaurant the rest of your life?
Grocery store.
Don't like fast
It's
food?
just, it looks like unorganized chaos in an In-N-Out burger these days in Colorado, so I don't want any part of that.
That's
I can go and hide in one of the aisles of the supermarket and kind of get on my phone and stuff.
That's good. Would you rather inspire people or educate them?
Inspire to be educated.
Okay, that's good. I like that. And there's one more I'm going to ask you on here, and I'm going to ask you. I asked one question from the deck of cards, which I think is really a tough question to answer. Let's see on this one. Would you rather live on bread and water for a month or eat anything you want, but you have to add a cooked insect to one of your meals each day?
Oh, no problem. Cooked insect all the way. I'm from Southern Illinois, man.
Yeah.
I'm a country boy.
That's funny. And then the last one is, would you rather to be no longer able to use a search engine again or no longer be able to use your apps on your phone again?
Wow. Oh, it has to be apps.
Apps, okay. So you're too,
Yeah, I'd go
too much,
broke. I wouldn't have a company anymore. So
Yeah. No, hey, it's all about Google. I agree. I agree. So Chris, as we wrap up, why don't you give people some information how to get a hold of you, how to get a hold of KickStart Dental Marketing if they want to learn more. I know you wanted to offer something to the listeners and viewers as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's pretty simple. Just go to kickstartdental.com, just like kickstarting a motorcycle. There's a button there that you can sign up for an absolutely free strategy session. I do all of the strategy sessions myself. So it would be with me personally. And basically what we do is we just take a look at your online presence and things that you have going on with social media and reviews and all different aspects of online marketing. And I point out some things that I would do differently if it were me. And if you happen to need help with those things, then great. We're probably somebody we could work with. And if not, that's fine too. At least you'll know more about what we think in terms of your marketing presence. And I know there's a lot of people that are probably watching this that maybe not dentists. And if you own a business of any kind, a lot of this applies to you too. I'd be more than willing to do it for you as well.
And you also have a podcast of your own, correct?
Yeah, it's a very original title called the Dental Marketing Podcast. So yeah, and we do that weekly, and we've got about 20 episodes now. So we just started this year with that.
Yeah, I'm on my 200th and something episode
Wow,
at this
nice.
point. So I've been doing this for a long time.
Heck yeah.
And then, by the way, when you guys when you have a chance, go check out his website, because I really like what you do with your videos, and when they ask questions, your video pops up and you give them the answer to the video. I think video is so important. We didn't talk about video marketing, but I think video marketing is super, super important nowadays. If you don't have it, you got to be doing it.
That's its own podcast topic for sure. Yeah.
And actually, if you look here, you'll see it. I have a teleprompter right there.
Yep, I've got one of those. I've got the same one. That's
do you?
Cool.
Yeah. So I use a teleprompter because I still need it to remember what I'm saying sometimes.
Oh, I know. I tried all kinds of things, like putting it to the side, and it just looks like I'm a total
looking
amateur.
off to the side. Yeah, exactly. So guys, if you want to get some more information from Chris, please reach out to him. He's offering a personalized, basically consultation with you, strategy session. If you like this episode, please share it. Let all the dentists that you're aware of know about it. Like us on Facebook, review us. It's all things we're doing. Episodes come out weekly, 1 p.m. on Fridays, so pay attention to that. Subscribe if you like it, because you'll get more episodes. Chris, thank you so much for sharing your expertise. I hope to be on your podcast soon. And as I always end these podcasts, remember, your reputation matters. Thanks very much, Chris, and we'll talk to the listeners soon. Take care, guys.